Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Today, I'm going to be talking about the concept of well being and how it can be achieved by spreading more awareness, empowering individuals to elevate their mindset and lead a more meaningful, positive, and an enhanced life. It's a long journey, and I still can't really figure out how it can be applied to uh, each and every individual on this planet, since the problems of poverty, the systematic inequality has been part of our history since forever. However, I do believe that the starting point could be through the ones who have gotten access to education and the ones who are privileged enough to make an impact. Just like in a community or an organization of large numbers, each and every individual has a role to play and adds value. But as we move up the hierarchy, we see how a smaller number of individuals have a higher responsibility for the entire organization. Similarly, in the community of humans, the humanity, people with access to higher means should understand their responsibility and just acknowledge it, and they can spread it with other people while empowering those around them. So ideally, at a national or an international level, the organization and the government do the best job they can collectively do at that given moment, especially empowerment of the less privileged, which is taken up by the government, NGOs, social activists, and others. However, the potential impact of a greater scale remains untapped until more individuals start to understand their unique role in the world and trying to you know create more awareness for uh, the privileged and empower the less privileged. So it's ironic how in the 21st century, where we have an information overload, we still lack awareness. And the problem, the global or universal problem, which is found in India at least at a very high degree, is the limiting mindset. This is enforced by the society, the elders, and you know just the while growing up, to think in a certain way without questioning it. And examples can also be found in a lot of feudal ideologies and practices, in religion, in religious activities, which are practiced irrespective of their relevance in today's world, just based on emotion and without having to question it. So, in fact, this limiting mindset is also common with the people who have been blessed with fortune, as they derive their principles from their environment, their surroundings, and you know, being ignorant to their true selves. So, defining individuality based on external things like money, power, caste, religion, gender, place in society, and many more are due to influence. We all fall in different categories of identities, maybe more than one, and all these identities, some identities we chase, and some identities we are born with, and some identities are just we belong to. But all these identities shouldn't stand between who we are, irrespective of all these identities, which is a human being. And just how we protect these identities, we also need to protect humanity, which is the most relevant identity in our generation, in our century, considering that coming together is the way for forward way forward for a sustainable living. In fact, even in the primitive times, group selection was the reason why our species survived. And they, of course, a collective goal has always been more effective than an individual goal. So the point here is, that if we all come together with, by propagating, simple mindset of, values of humanity, which which help uplift our social capacity, we could be at a better place. Uh, Sometimes, I think of a radical idea where where the countries could come together to form a code of conduct which is focused towards the earth, which is focused towards the humanity, and it trains people to think openly and think about the real life situations that we face in our particular country or particular, the problems that we could face in the future, in the coming years, or the generation problems that we have been dealing with for years, for ages. So just how we are rewarded for donating money or paying taxes, if we are also rewarded for giving our time to develop a social mentality, or develop a skill to, develop a skill to, help the cause, help the social mentality, which can be inculcated by training and educating, from the perspective of a collective uh, community of humanity, and aims to develop compassion and empathy among individuals, maybe it will be worth it. I'm not saying that the privileged are supposed to, or a group of people is supposed to decide for the less privileged or another group of people, but what I'm saying is they can liberate other beings by empowering them, maybe economically if required, or at a more realistic level, they can help them, empower them to think for themselves in the long term. On a small scale, propagating meaningful human values and respect would just work out beautifully. So, our world does not work according to the mystical or the magical ways, as is believed by the religious people. Our environment works according to the laws of nature, and it does not cater to religious rituals, prayers, beliefs, sacrifices. The sunshine, the rain, moonlight, the heat, cold, and the other forms of nature are not influenced by the religious beliefs, rituals, or any practices. Which brings me to another idea of, teaching, start teach values and principles of being a human being, of being of treating the planet as a home, where at a young age, we are given understanding, we uh, are given understanding of, um, you know of our emotions, of ourself, of basics of science, philosophy, the history of humans. And irrespective of whatever school we go to, they focus on value of unity, of self-dependence, growth, possibilities, respect, ethics, morality, giving exposure to spirituality, and and teach about nature and other relevant things that we see around in uh, around us, rather than focusing on just learning and memorizing and writing down, just memorizing facts, which is a part of education to develop skill, the fundamentals of skills, but it's not comprehensive, it's not holistic. So all of this sounds much more relevant than a religion which is based on faith. I mean, no disrespect to any religion, but the fact that, you know being part of something which is which could be there, which is real, which is, obviously, if people feel it, it's real. But something like, being part of humanity, of a species, of Earth, is something which is much more real, which meets the eye than any religion. However, like, moving forward, uh, of course, the designing of the of the curriculum would be a huge responsibility. But there are enough capable people around the world who might have ideas to build this. In fact, another challenge would be the access of the whole, the access of all of this to the less privileged, which could be solved too if there is a collective intent. And that's my belief, to be clear. However, we need to understand the major ideas would have the most simplistic explanations. In fact, um, I I believe that the life is. I mean, most of the things in our life are pretty straightforward and simple, but our individual emotion keeps us in a shell while creating illusions of problems to stimulate our minds. And this is obviously true for a small part of uh, individuals, and each one of us have our own problems to deal with. And that's why we need to come together and talk about humanity as one. Now, I want to end this by talking, just saying that the unconventional education will change the world, where it breaks free from the traditions and the status quo thinking, uh, by separating education from employment and enabling humans to use their imagination and experience life more holistically. Thank you.